Boston.
That's right.
Oh, it was a great drive. Anyway, I have the first commercial that is going to roll out on September 15th. You're going to get to see it now at some point during today's show, so stick around.
Nice. Stand by.
Good morning and welcome back. I am your host, Dean Weitzman. A little bit under the weather today, but I'm here live and in person in the studio, and those on YouTube get to see us. You'll get a microphone when it's your turn.
Is that what we're doing now? Oh, Mr. Under the Weather. Okay.
That voice that you hear in the background is none other than Manny Manuel Glenn.
Way in the background.
Yeah. Good morning, Manuel. You got a microphone.
Are you sure? Good morning, Dean. Well, Dean, you look good. You don't feel good, but you look okay.
Oh, good. Well, it's important that you look good. Don't matter if you're about to die.
Perception is everything. The show must go on.
Yes.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Right.
Right.
Prop you up in that chair, man.
All right. We're here, folks. I got to talk about driving etiquette today.
Why?
Because I literally was coming down the Schuylkill to come to the studio.
Uh-huh.
A car coming, I'm going 50. The car had to be going 90 miles an hour. Comes in about 2 feet over the center line in my lane. Swerves into the left lane. Gets an opening. Cuts to the right. Gets onto the shoulder. Blows down the shoulder 90 miles an hour. Cuts back into the travel lane. I'm thinking, what drives somebody to drive like that? Why?
The law?
Fleeing
the scene?
I want to tell you something. Right now, okay? I'm coming after you.
Stop it. What do you mean you're coming after?
Well, when that happens and my clients are injured,
right.
That's not funny. That's a serious matter.
So what's this? Reckless driving is what we're talking about.
For sure it was reckless driving. It's beyond careless. It's into reckless.
All right.
And we're starting to amend our complaints. That's the document we file when somebody has done something wrong to injure a client. It starts with a civil action or complaint. And I'm adding recklessness to all of the complaints because these types of accidents aren't accidents. They're avoidable collisions. And these folks are just being completely selfish and reckless. And as a result, we went up to the Superior Court on this, and they said, yeah, Dean, you can allege recklessness.
Recklessness is now a suable offense.
It's in my complaints, and then when the time comes for me to depose you, when I sit across from you and ask you the questions, one of the questions I'm going to ask is, what is your cell phone number? And then I'm going to go to whoever, Sprint or Verizon or
T-Mobile,
whomever,
right.
and I'm going to grab your cell phone records, and I'm going to see if you were on the phone at the time of the collision.
Ooh.
I can do a diagnostic on your phone, and I can see if you were looking at it at the time of the accident. Wow.
Is this where we are now?
That's where we are. And if your insurance company doesn't pay me all the money you got in insurance, I'm coming after your house.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is digital Dean Weitzman.
Yeah,
he's coming.
It's
coming.
It's out of control. It's out of control. When I was a kid, nobody used seatbelts. It was there, but you just never put it on.
When we were a kid, they invented seatbelts.
Yeah, probably. Right. Yeah. So nowadays, pretty much everybody, you get in the car, the first thing you do is you put your seatbelt on.
That's the law.
Yeah. Listen, I do it, and if I do it, most people do it,
well,
because I'm always the slow one to the table here. There's going to come a day, I hope, when our children and our children's children do not touch the cell phone when they're in the car.
Well, those cars will be flying.
Maybe the car is going to be set up so that when it's in drive, the cell phone is disabled. How's that sound?
Assuming that they were even driving it.
No, I just
It'd be
think it'll just always
self-driving.
be hands-free, voice-activated, period. They'll just never have to touch anything. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, but even when you're hands-free and not touching.
So no distractions
you're
at all,
distraction.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I understand in Germany on the Autobahn, that is against the law. No distractions when you're driving 120 miles per hour on average.
Things happen in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
You're going to take somebody's life. Slow down out there. That's what I say. Slow down.
Says
relax.
the man with the fastest cars on the road.
And there's a place for that. You know, I can go to the racetrack and be Mario Andretti.
Way back. Okay.
215-227-2727. The number for all things legal. Give us a call. If you've got a legal issue today, we've got the answer. And I might even throw in a
Miami shirt?
a nuggeting shirt. A nuggeting shirt. Folks, if you're watching...
Joji was under the weather, y'all. He's a little out of it.
If
you're wearing the black Miami shirt.
No, the black nuggeting shirt, you're going to get a nugget. If you're inclined to watch us, go on to the My Philly Lawyer website, click over to Court Radio, and click on the link for YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, welcome, and make sure you like us and subscribe, and tell your friends to like and subscribe. That's it. That's it for the plugs, the little plugs for My Philly Lawyer. But now we have a guest. We have a guest in the studio today. We have Chad Lassiter, the executive director of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Welcome, Chad.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. So for those of us in the audience today, listening or watching, tell us what the Human Relations Commission is and what you do on a regular basis.
Certainly. We are the Commonwealth's top civil rights enforcement agency. Ironically, this upcoming October, we will be celebrating 70 years. We were created in 1955, so we predated the Civil Rights Act by 10 years. The Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, we fight for the rights of all citizens in the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is comprised, as we know, of 13 million people, 67 counties. So any form of discrimination in the space of commercial property, public accommodation, education, fair housing, and employment, people filed their complaints with the PHRC. We have 3 regional offices, one in Pittsburgh, one in Harrisburg, one in Philadelphia, and our table of organization is the governor's office, 11 commissioners. At the present time, we have 7, but at any particular point in time, you can have 6 who are Republicans, 5 who are Democrat, or the inverse, and currently a staff of 86, once again, fighting for the rights of all the citizens in the Commonwealth against forms of unlawful discrimination.
You talked about commercial commercial real estate, and I wonder also whether you guys get involved in the residential, like the redlining, things like that.
That's where fair housing comes in. One of the books that comes to mind is Richard Rothstein's book, Color of Law. So PHRC is definitely in the space as it relates to landlord-tenant conflict. But beyond those things, we also do a lot of trainings. We do trainings to address anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, AAPI hate. We do trainings to de-escalate conflict in various communities. Just most recently, we were in York, PA. There was a major incident where a person who identifies as LGBTQ plus was actually strangled and was attacked. And so we went down and we created something called a No Hate in Our State town halls. And the No Hate in Our State town halls kind of emerged in 2018 on the heels of the high surge of white nationalism and white supremacy in PA.
Do you see your role diminishing under the current federal administration, because they're doing away with a lot of the protections that involve race relations? They don't think that it's a good idea, let me say, to focus on race relations. They say, just move on. That was in the past. Let's get on. There is no discrimination now.
That's a great question. Our PHRC annual report shows that complaints are higher during this period in time. I think what we're experiencing in this democracy is a white lashing We had the first African-American president to the United States of America. We were so quick to, when I say we, the larger we, to say that we were post-racial. We know post-racial is a mirage. Unfortunately, when you look at the landscape of what we have in PA, Pennsylvania, by the data collected by the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Anti-Defamation League, has 74 known hate groups in the state. Those are white supremacist groups. That's not an indictment against white individuals. This notion of let's get beyond race, try telling that to a rural person who is disabled in PA, who experiences forms of discrimination because they're disabled. Try telling that to a person or those individuals who unfortunately lost their lives, and those family members are going to always live with that trauma of tree of life. Try telling that to, on a national level, those African Americans who lost their lives when Dylan Roof went into that church down in Charleston, South Carolina. So we have some challenges, but one of the things about the PHRC is we've created this framework called the Beloved Community. And it's a framework of the work of Rabbi Abraham Yahshua Heschel and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where we go around to the state. I did a 2-year tour where I went to all 67 counties, and I met with individuals. It was very participatory. We asked them what some of their challenges were as it relates to education, as it relates to employment. And a lot of things were not centered solely on race. There was infrastructure. People would say, hey, here in Sullivan County, there's no Uber, there's no Lyft, there's no bus, so infrastructure is down. Other people in Clearfield County would verbalize, hey, there's no maternity care here, and so our children and I having children, and they're not staying. And so once again, this notion of federal protections, leaving everyone in your listening audience needs to know that you're protected under the PHRA, which is the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act, and you can file a complaint with PHRC.
Can people file a complaint directly with PHRC?
Yes, they can. They can dual file with the EEOC. They also can file with the Philadelphia Commission on Civil Rights. Shaka Fattah's wife is now the executive director of that, Renee Chanel Fattah. We encourage people to look at discrimination, and I'm not trying to simplify it, but I look at it in 3 ways: real, perceived, or imagined. Trust the process. File with the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Let us investigate your complaint. Also, there's this thing called paralysis of silence. It's very hard for people to sometimes speak up and speak out. So I don't want to minimize it, and I don't want to make it seem as if it's just really easy. But you can go online. Our questionnaires are user-friendly. And that's one of the challenges as well when we're having executive orders from the Trump administration that's simply saying that we should move into a space where English is the official language. Our complaint processes are in multiple languages. And so it's very important for people to know that they can do a walk-in, they'll meet with a clerical staff person, an intake person, or they can call us online and go online. We also go into the community. We set up Know Your Right workshops and how to file a complaint workshops as well.
215-227-2727. Chad Lassiter is here, the executive director of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Folks, if you've had an experience where you've been discriminated against, I wonder, are any of our listeners, have you used the PHRC in the past? How long does this process take? If I file a complaint today or fill out this application, what's the process? How long before I would expect to hear from someone?
There is a process, and so in full transparency, your listening audience may have had some experience with PHRC. I've been in this role for 7 years, 4 months. When I initially got to the PHRC under the Wolf administration, one of our go-to kind of scripts, Manny, would be, we're not going to be able to get to your complaint. We're knee-deep with a backlog. In addition to that, we don't have a lot of complement. And I kind of made a paradigm shift, Dean. I said none of us would go to the doctor and the doctor would tell us, we had breast cancer or prostate cancer, and you would say, come back in 3 years. We wouldn't tolerate that. And so one of my critiques of PHRC at that time was we have to be customer-centered, we have to be quality assurance, and we must see the people not as a number, but as a human being. To your question, it is a process. It's a process because there's gathering of data that you have to grab, information, you have to investigate people. Sometimes there is mediation. So we do have a mediation division, which we call one of our ADRs, which is Alternative Dispute Resolution Programs. And so every case varies. Sometimes, unfortunately, people feel as though they've been discriminated against. We do the investigation. It's time and attendance. You got to show up work on time, right? The other thing, too, is that we take our time. And it's important for your audience to know that the PHRC also engages in anti-racism and anti-bias training for ourselves. Even though we're the ones that do the training, it's important for us to make sure that we don't come to a context not being neutral, come to a context with a prejudged kind of perspective.
Do you you slid in there earlier that post-racial life in America is a mirage?
Yeah.
Do you really believe that? Is it possible that we could one day be in a post-racial environment?
We have too many divisions, and all of us are socialized and all of us are racialized. I'll start with myself. Going to 67 counties, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles and North Philadelphia. This gentleman to my left, I've been knowing him since I was in high school. I graduated high school in 1990.
Told you.
And he looks damn good.
He still fits into his gym uniform.
Hey,
but
get those blue shorts he wears.
But coming from North Philadelphia and going to Westmoreland County or going to Beaver County, I had a set of stereotypes based on the way I was racialized or socialized. You have to put those away. You have to work on something called self-actualization. You have to do the hard work. I'm not so certain that we've done the hard work. And so what continues to happen is we want to live in a democracy where we want to move beyond race, but anti-Semitism is high. We saw that on college campuses like Columbia, Harvard University, University of Penn. But so is Islamophobia. So is anti-black racism. And so I think what we have to do is do the work. We get the first African-American president, and we say we're post-racial. But the question had to be, and it's not a Socratic question, when did we roll up our sleeves, take off our cufflinks, and do the hard work to address educational apartheid, environmental racism, hate towards people on all sides of the color line and gender line? I think that the goal for America is not to be post-racial. The goal is to see the beauty in all individuals. We're a kaleidoscope made up of multiple identities, multiple faiths, and non-faiths, and we need to really speak to one another and see the humanity in all.
215-227-2727.
Well, when I was up in Harrisburg, I was the African American Commission director. I went to all 67 counties, and what you encountered was, for instance, you go to certain places, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no broadband. In some places, there were people literally living off the grid. They didn't call the state police or anybody for anything. They take care of their own lives. Some folks, they live off the roadkill. There are all kinds of folks out there in all 67 counties who have different types of experiences, but it is a hodgepodge of people, all different types of folks, who only may know about a person based on what they've heard or what they've seen on television, or now that some folks have devices that they've seen on social media. They don't know anything else about anything, and that's their frame of reference.
I had a woman, and Manuel is absolutely right. I had a woman, I won't say what county. We were doing the Beloved Community Tour talking about the things of PHRC, and she said, "You're the first African-American man or African-American person I've been around in my 40 years living in this county." And so I said, so who commits the crime here? And just like it got quiet here in the studio, it was so quiet in that room that you can hear a mouse pee on cotton in France. I said, who commits the crime here? And she said, what do you mean? I said, you said that you've never been around a black person in 40 years. She said, well, I don't know. So a white gentleman said, well, we commit the crime because there are no people of color here. I said, well, have you ever heard of the terminology white on white violence? No, you don't. You hear black on black violence, but there is white on white violence. People kill people that they live in close proximity to. So the experiences vary, and we have to embrace those experiences. And so what we plan to do, Dean, and to your listening audience, is we're going to culminate the Beloved Community Tour with a report of some of the findings from all 67 counties. And because of this, just this past week, the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, we launched a position, a Director of Rural and Civic Engagement. And that position is going to be purposeful and intentional to listen to the needs and to gather the data, and also to inform people in rural counties, just like Manuel said, you may be off the grid, but you also, because of your humanity, you should not be discriminated against.
That's true.
215-227-2727. If you've got a legal issue, give it up. We'll tackle it today. If you want to chat with us about Chad Lassiter And the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, I'm happy to hear you out. Give us a call if you think that the work that Chad and his group does is beneficial or not.
Or online. If you have a question.
Yeah, Dion's waiting for you.
You know, just chime in online and we'll get to you.
So, Chad, anybody spitting on anybody because of race?
Well, yeah, I think there needs to be some wiser owls in that village with the eagles. We don't have that, but also one of the things is the beauty of going to communities and listening to communities and learning from communities is that several years ago, when Democratic strategist James Carville said, you have Philadelphia, you have Pittsburgh, and in between you have Kentucky or Penn, Mississippi. This 67-county tour really showed that you have Philadelphia, you have Pittsburgh, and in between you have people that have a heartbeat. They're concerned about a lot of things. Yes, they are atheists, and they have that right. They are agnostic. They have that right. They're Scientologists. They have that right. They voted for Trump. Some people didn't vote. Some are Democrats. But the reality is there's a heartbeat in Pennsylvania, notwithstanding our challenges. And so leading up to 250-year anniversary of America, the erasure that we're seeing, and I know we're going to get into the situation over at University of Penn with Sadie T. Alexander, but the erasure that we're seeing is just that. We need to tell a different story. And so that's why you're seeing the attacks on Black humanity, Black history, DEI. You're seeing these attacks on the Smithsonian. We need to tell the history that we've always been great. And history should be couched as a both and, not an either or, that America has both been great and it has had challenges.
Do you find that you have, and this is kind of like a softball, because hard for you not to say, that you have an impact, but do you really see an impact on a reduction of hate and a increase in cooperation?
I think the latter is what I see. I think the first is still yet to be determined. As a social scientist and researcher, there's a lot of qualitative and quantitative data for the PHRC that really shows that we have made a difference, but I still see complaints coming in. I also think that, in all sincerity, the complaints have not increased, Manuel, solely because of the Trump administration. I think oftentimes we use President Trump and some of the things that we're seeing in real time as a convenient scapegoat. Almost like a scapegoat hypothesis.
Well, hold on. Now, since you brought that part up, one of the things that he is a champion of is a side of racism that black folks don't think about. There are white men that feel they've been discriminated against because they're white. The set-asides they say are race is racism against them. That's something that is not in the ether.
Yeah.
How do you approach and how do you answer that?
We have not had any complaints that have come through the PHRC with regards to reverse racism, but the EEOC has.
Okay.
But once again, just the work that I do, I'm not going to ever go on record to say that white males have not been discriminated against. I think that that's, once again, one of the things that we're seduced into. We're seduced into this black-white binary where, we feel as though that there's only one segment of the population that has been faced with discrimination. In addition to that, we oftentimes live in a space where we think that civil rights only means African Americans. Civil rights, in fact, are human rights. We all have the human right to have the right to vote. We all have the human right to, when we're stopped by the police, for the police to see our humanity and not to be operating under a guise or this racial gaze. One of the challenges I think that we're faced with is, to that latter point, is I think that there is more cooperation. We have something called advisory councils. And advisory councils, if you go to our website, we have 26 of them. They are our eyes and ears. So you'll have an advisory council in a particular county. We also have HRCs. Human Relations Commissions, and so they are independent from the PHRC. And then lastly, we have something called SJAs. That's our Social Justice Ambassadors, and right now we have 40 social justice ambassadors in 40 counties. Those are the individuals that they know what's happening in their community. So this is not government saying, well, Dean, in your particular county, this is what's happening. It's you as the community person saying to the PHRC, this is the challenges that we're having in school with bullying. This is the challenges that we're having, in our commercial properties, in our stores and things of that nature.
Do you work with the police? And do you have some impact on how they treat the citizens that they're engaging with?
To that question, we work in tandem with the Pennsylvania State Police whenever there is an incident of hate crime. we do have a PHRC social justice committee with law enforcement. And so we don't work with the police in that sense, but we do work with the police where we do workshops in communities where we want communities to see the humanity in police officers. We want communities to have a full recognition that police officers are human beings too. They get up every day under the guise of the fear of calamity, not knowing if they're going to go back to their loved ones. But we also want communities to recognize that there is a thing called police brutality. And most communities do know that there's an anthology of police brutality where some police officers are in their communities surveilling them under suspicion. And that's why a lot of people were kind of stoked into not fear, but almost like trauma or a vicarious traumatization when the president of the United States is saying D.C. is coming apart at the seams and he sends federal troops into Washington, D.C. There's an anthology of fear and there's an anthology of police brutality in African-American communities that activates some of the challenges that we see.
I was going to ask about that, but I'm sorry, Dion. Do we have a call here?
We do. I'm so sorry. Let's talk to Cameron on line 1. Oh, Cameron, welcome to Core Radio.
What's going on? How you feeling?
Doing well, thank you.
Good morning.
What do you have to add to us, to our topic today, Cameron?
So, me personally, I just believe I don't know how direct this is going to be, but the small communities we are all so forced to be in because, we don't have the great capabilities. Everybody don't have the same capabilities to work the same jobs. We need different jobs, our disabilities. I got sickle cell. There's a lot of different things that could play a big part of, what we can do. But as far as the people that's stuck in the same little areas, neighborhoods, cities, locations, whatever your case is, I feel like that forces a lot of your, how do you say this, your neighbors into the same cage. Everybody's in the same location. Can't nobody leave. So when you're dealing with poverty, how are you going to escape from that? And you're also in the same cage as the next lion who wants to be the top dog of the area as well. So you face a lot of challenges personally that leads into a lot of different things, with racism, people around you. It messes up the community. If that makes any sense. I'm not very well spoken. Y'all know what y'all talking about, but my head.
No, I got you. I hear you loud and clear.
And you are very well spoken.
You are. Yeah, don't do that to yourself.
All right, so what's the answer to that?
Let me just say, Chad, you touched on it. And Tactic, we do this on Sundays. We talk about something called transgenerational psychological trauma. Slavery, folks are freed. They never had therapy. They never had counseling. Worst abuse ever.
Right.
As time goes on through Reconstruction, civil rights, things aren't addressed, but they still see injustices. Black people, people of color, have triggers that other races do not because of this. So that whole just get over it thing doesn't work. What I hear from this, Cameron, the trials and travails of life, poverty, all in the same boat, and you're dealing with so much. That's the part that doesn't get addressed. Psychologically, how to manage this existence with all these triggers and all this going on inside of you while you're poor.
All right, but before Chad answers that question, we have to take a break.
That was perfect.
We have to
That was
take.
perfect.
Thank you, Cameron. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, folks, for our sponsors, and maybe our YouTube viewers are going to get to see a commercial that is being introduced for the first time in America.
We have a question.
Are you going to be able to slide that in?
I'm going to try to, yeah. Hello.
What's the question?
The question from Mr. A. Cooper says, what percentage do attorneys usually charge if a lottery jackpot is won? Or do they have to become ongoing, quote-unquote, retained employees? I think it was a joke. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's funny.
You're Sarah, right?
Yes.
Thank you for the questions. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. I guess I have to go to the gym after this. My wife just texted me and said, "Are you going to the Bellevue to work out?"
Oh,
I'm a
man.
member of the Bellevue Sporting Club. I was trying to go to breakfast and all you can eat butter.
Yeah, but, wife put you in the corner and saying, I know where I want you at.
Jeez.
Can I get that website again that we were referring to earlier?
What website?
I don't know. Princess said, what was the name of that website, please? She said it like 5 minutes ago.
I guess maybe the PHRC website?
Yeah.
Where they can file complaints, Chad?
Yeah. Let me find it. It's
PHRC website. Okay.
yeah. www.pa. Gosh, I just should know this. Oh, you know what? Let me do this. Thanks. And that's for you, Dean. If you ever need anything.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Ready, Freddie? Yeah, baby. Welcome back. I'm Dean Weitzman, your host every Saturday morning right here on 100.3 WRNB.
And Classics 107.9.
Yeah, we forgot the legal in the beginning.
I didn't forget.
Says the attorney in the building.
I didn't forget.
I'm under the weather. Give me a break.
Okay, you're right. What's
All right. Dion, did I lie to the YouTube viewers, or did you post that commercial?
No, you did lie. We'll try to get it on the
We'll
second.
try.
Oh, I did lie.
You did lie.
Well,
He's under the weather.
yeah.
he's
No,
under
we're going to show it to you before the end of the show, or maybe like right after the
This is
end
when
of
he
the
went
show.
to Baston to film it.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
Baston.
yeah.
Where they parked their car in the yard.
Yep, that's it. I liked the commercial. I thought it was a good one.
I thought it was 2. Is this the one?
Actually did 3. They'll be
okay.
coming out serially.
Ah,
A little
all right.
little taste here and
Something
there.
different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's pick up on Ronnie on line 2. Ronnie, welcome to Court Radio.
Well, hello, gentlemen.
Oh,
Hi,
Good
Ronnie.
morning,
Good morning.
Ronnie.
I know that voice.
Yeah, I'm afraid you do. What's up, my favorite DJ Tactic? What's up, though?
What up? What up?
There you go.
Okay, listen. So I have a question for the gentleman from the HRC because I was always under the impression that they only dealt with employment issues. So I'm learning something new today. I had a relative who was renting an apartment up here in Germantown, and the tenant above her was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You wouldn't believe. I won't get into it, but there is video footage of what happened. The landlord was approached, per customary, and he did nothing. So she ended up going to court, and she lost, so she had to vacate. My question to you is, based on what I just heard, is there a chance that she might be able to go to the HRC and present her case and see if she could get some kind of legal remedy that way, even though it was 2 years ago?
So I would say reach out to the Philadelphia regional office, and the regional director can look into that. I'm in real time,
Okay.
so I don't know all the specifics. So I would say definitely on Monday, have her or someone that's going to use advocacy or agency to have her reach out on her behalf. I like what you said, though, with regards to learning something, because I think a lot of times people don't understand that it's just beyond just what they know as it relates to is housing, it's, bullying, intimidation in schools, things of that nature. When we talk about public accommodations, we're talking about that when you use the restrooms should be ADA accessible. There are a lot of restrooms that are not ADA accessible. There are a lot of curbs that are not wheelchair accessible for wheelchair and ramps and that nature.
It's one of the things the Department of Education used to oversee.
Yeah. So please have her reach out to the Philadelphia regional office.
Okay, we'll do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thanks, Ronnie.
You mentioned in the beginning something about there's 60 or 70 hate groups in Pennsylvania.
72. We used to be number 2 in the country, right?
We're now number in the top 10.
72, but you said white supremacist hate groups. Are there other hate groups? And what comes to mind is that cat in Chicago, the Muslim guy who
Louis
Farrakhan.
Louis Farrakhan?
Yeah, that's it. Is that a hate group? Is that a hate group against
The
Jews?
Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center has the Nation of Islam on that list as well.
Really?
Okay. So there are non-white hate groups. I want a world where there is no hate and where we can see each other for our own experiences. I treat Manuel is Manuel, not Manuel is Black Manuel. Manuel is all the things that I know about him.
I'm Dean
When I
Weitzman,
see
my
a
Philly
black
lawyer.
face,
You
I'm
know me.
immediately on edge. I because I've grown up with black faces in my face.
Yeah.
There are people in this state, as you said, who never had that experience.
That's real. Yeah.
Yeah. When Manuel spoke about, and I want to first and foremost validate your experience. When Manuel spoke about him being the executive director of the Governor's Advisory Commission on African Americans in the state, the reality is beyond us looking at one another, there is something called institutional racism. Systemic and structural racism. There's no such.
What is that exactly?
I'll share with you. You and I have the same credit score. Fair housing violations. You go to see a house, and they show you the house. I go to see the house, and they tell me the house is no longer for sale. They don't want an African American in that community. They don't want They don't want same-sex couple in that community. They don't want people with children in that community. When we talk about redlining, when we talk about, there's no such thing as driving while white. There's something called driving while black. So when we talk about institutional racism, which is prejudice plus power, when we're talking about affirmative action, we never talk about Ira Katznelson's work when affirmative action was white. There is something called legacy emissions. Your dad went to Hanover. You went to Yale University. That's the legacy of the Bush family. Most blacks don't have a legacy to Ivy League universities historically. And so it's not just a police officer calling you the N-word. It's the policies that lead to N-word treatment, mass incarceration. When we're looking at those hate groups, you're absolutely right to point out that there's others, but the majority of them are white. You've never had a black Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
Well, I'll give you an example. The fire department.
That sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit.
The legacy piece, the fire department was known for that. Every fire department across the country, the same thing with the police department. That's why you had to have the values for the fire department, the black firefighters. That's why you had to have noble. What was it for black police officers? Was it called the Guardian Civically? Because of those legacy preferences.
But there was the same for Jews.
Sure.
In my neighborhood, there was one Jewish police sergeant. And you knew it because he was the only Jewish police. I mean, Jews weren't invited into the police department like the Italians or the Irish. They were excluded. And, he was always made fun of. He was the Jewish sergeant.
How many Asian police officers have you seen?
Nowadays, I don't know, but certainly there weren't any when I was growing up. I think they've added some because there's Chinatown. There's Asian communities now that they need people to talk to them. That's the only reason.
The owner of the Philadelphia Eagles' wife, her husband was one of the first Asian officers on the police force. His name is Nick, Baltimore Avenue. This is a little smaller side. But everybody, you could count them on one hand.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
the thing.
215-227-2727. What we haven't talked about yet, and which I brought you here to talk about getting slide over here. All right, so your alma mater, right? You're a Penn grad?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did my master's in social work with honors at the University of Penn.
I can still hear Penn laughing at my application.
But I'm a product of the HBCU.
Okay.
I went to Johnson C. Smith University.
There you go.
I'm the product of Temple U.
Same here.
Yeah.
Fight for the cherry in the way.
Your alma mater has come under fire for pausing the scholarships in honor of its first black female graduate and closing its equal opportunity office, all related to the current administration's stance on DEI. Why did Penn give in when Harvard fought?
That's a great question for the current president and the board of trustees. The reality is this moment calls for us to have a level of courage, to stand with a moral compass and a moral imperative. University of Pennsylvania, I was very disappointed. Very disappointed. I didn't just attend the University of Pennsylvania, but I also, in 2003, created, as Manuel knows, the Black Men at Penn School of Social Work Incorporated, which was the first all-black male Ivy League educated men with social work degrees who went into the community of West Philadelphia and various other communities to talk to young black males about violence reduction, intervention, prevention. That's how Manny and I met, to really, really talk to them about, you might not have a father in your home, but we'll align you with a mentor. And so for University of Penn to do this on the hills of Mayor Sherelle Parker announcing that we're going to have a statue for Sadie T. Alexander. This is the
Who
first.
is Sadie T?
Sadie T. Alexander was the first black woman to get a PhD in economics in the country and the first black woman to graduate from law school at the University of Penn. And so University of Penn can't have it both ways. There's a school where you highlight her, right? Even though that's the Philadelphia School District, but it's in the catchment area of University of Penn. You walk into the law school, there's this great picture of her, and then you retreat. The scholarship, I don't have the data, but I've been told that the scholarship named after her was for any student that's fighting racial justice in the same manner that she did. So it's not a scholarship solely for African-American students. So the board and the president need to answer the following questions. What was the decision that went into this? Why did you do it now? And, what is the overall objective and goal? And why are we doing it to this particular scholarship? And so that's where, once again, where Manuel is talking about that post-traumatic slave syndrome disorder, that generational trauma, where a lot of us are saying, wait a minute, did you do that to any other scholarship at the University of Penn, right? And then the neurotransmitters of every single day, Dean, and your listening audience, where we're hearing about this book. Let's get rid of this book on Ruby Bridges. Let's whitewash this. Let's release the papers, not the Epstein files, but let's release the papers of Martin Luther King Jr. It seems like it's an ongoing attack every single day and an assault on black humanity. And so here we have a university that has benefited from Sadie T. Alexander on multiple levels, almost like benefiting from her NIL, her name, image, and likeness,
right.
And now retreating from the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Well, your president of the United States went to Penn, which is another thing.
Yeah.
Did somebody tick him off when he was there? You know what I mean? He's the retribution president. That's why I'm asking these questions. So what black woman teed him off when he was at Penn? Why?
215-227-2727. If you've got something to add to this conversation, jump on in. The water is warm. All right? So you're saying that that's a good question for someone other than yourself.
Yeah, I think the university needs to come forth and share what went into this decision. Also, if you look at some of the articles that have been written, there is the black student organizations around law that have been really speaking out against this. Her daughter has been speaking out against this, and several other people. There was an article in the Philadelphia Tribune with some commentary provided by Renee Chenault-Fatai and myself. Renee Chenault-Fatai shares her story of going to Penn Law School because she was inspired by Sadie T. Alexander. This hits home for me because my grandmother was her housekeeper. And so when I was growing up, I was in her home, and you could see pictures of her and Raymond Pace Alexander, who was a judge. You would see pictures with Sadie T. Alexander and Cecil B. Moore and Sam Evans. You would see pictures. You would see her dissertation. And even though you were a little kid and you were running in the house, you didn't know what you were engaged in. And so then when I got much older, it was like, wait a minute. Miss A is Miss Alexander. This is it. And so somewhere along the line, and I'm not trying to be sensational here, but there had to be some correlation that led me to say I want to go to the University of Penn after I left Johnson C. Smith University. Because coming out of North Philadelphia, after I graduated from Johnson C. Smith, I was heading to Temple University myself for my master's. Because growing up in the hood, it was John Chaney and Sonny Hill.
Right.
So there were individuals who wrapped their arms around me and said, yo, you should try University of Penn. You should try University of Penn. And I think that a lot of that might have been in the DNA from, what I got to learn and being in and around Sadie T. Alexander.
It makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. And obviously, you're far brighter than I am because you actually got into Penn. All right. So 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Anonymous. We always have to
back again.
We always have one every week. Anonymous, line 1, Eric. Good morning. Welcome to Court Radio.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing well, thanks. What
Okay.
do you got to share with us?
Okay. So this is kind of a sensitive topic, which is why I chose to stay anonymous. And also, I don't know if it is like a legal thing, so I just want to keep all my eggs together. But long story short, I work as a veterinary technician, and my last job that I had fired me while I was having a pregnancy loss. The owner/doctor that I worked for, he didn't know that, not to my knowledge, he didn't know that I was pregnant because I didn't tell him, but I did tell the practice manager who handles scheduling and things like that. And when I told her that I was experiencing the loss, she basically texted me back and was like, I need documentation. I'm sorry that you're dealing with this, so, which I did have documentation. But then she sent me a termination letter that Monday or Tuesday or something. And I never even had an opportunity to give her documentation. So I emailed them back just politely saying that I felt like my rights were violated. And I was just curious what to do moving forward. I did contact the EOC, I think it's called, or something like that, but they said that they couldn't help me because there's it's a small practice. There's less than 15 employees altogether, including the doctor that owns it.
Yeah, okay. So the EEOC handles matters with much more employees than a 15-member outfit. So that makes sense. But there's a Pennsylvania organization that is kind of the, in March step with the EEOC, but on a Commonwealth level. And what is that?
That's the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. And first and foremost, and I mean this with utmost sincerity, I'm a man of faith. My prayers, thoughts, and reflections are with you as you went through that. And then also from a strengths-based perspective, just the courage to come on here, whether it's anonymous or not. Reach out to the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission first thing Monday. We have guidances as it relates to protections for pregnancy. We just released PHRC guidances around religion and pregnancy. And so you are protected under the PHRA under that guidance for pregnancy, that nobody in the workplace should be discriminating against you because of pregnancy, whether that's a miscarriage or the fact that I need to go to a room and pump. That is a right under the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act. So please reach out to the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission on Monday. I'll give you my email address, which is Lassiter, CLASSITER, at pa.gov. That's CLASSITER at pa.gov. But you can go online today and fill out a questionnaire, or you can call into the Philadelphia Regional Office first thing Monday, and I'll assure you that we'll look into it. Don't know what the outcome may be, but certainly there seems like there may be a form of unlawful discrimination that may have existed, albeit I'm not an investigator on this Saturday, but that hat definitely is something that I'll put on Monday.
Thank you, Anonymous.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
All right, have a great day. Folks, we are up against our second break. We will be back in 2 minutes after our sponsors have had their way with you.
Still on with YouTube. That number is the number, 215-227-2727. That's the number. Some folks said they couldn't get in.
Thank you for picking up the slack for my ailing brain.
Yeah, are you on any meds, man? You got any? Take anything? You haven't taken anything?
Mia gave me some Chinese herbal stuff.
That's stuff that's going to work.
She Mr. Miyagi.
Is it like a passing cold or?
I don't know. Probably. I hope so. It could be the flu.
He's not telling you. But his house was flooded out.
Yeah.
He had Servpro and everybody in there with the fans and everything to make sure there's no fungus. All kinds of stuff could have been blown around.
Yeah.
But then again, you said you traveled too?
Yep.
The commercial. Somebody may have been sick.
That's a great question that she asked because, even though we're the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, we were out of compliance because we had no nursing stations in our 3 regional offices.
See?
And even though we're the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, our Philadelphia regional office, which is 801 Arch in the same building as PennDOT and the Office of Homeland Security, our doors were not ADA accessible. And we had no safety escape plan for a fire drill for 2 individuals who are disabled.
That's huge.
So
I
even
don't run from
even the
it.
guys who are
Well,
even the
that's
guys who
your
are
stuff.
watching the hen house, so to speak, need to keep up with their own practices.
And so that's why we bring in the ADL and others to train us quarterly on our biases, because we have them. And my staff pushes back against me. They're like, well, we're the ones that do the training. Yeah, we have biases.
You got any issues? Do the Dutch have any issues? Pennsylvania Dutch? Any complaints? Who's messing with the Dutch?
Everybody.
Yeah?
Out in that area, but they don't come forth because there's such a kind of like close-knit community. And then the biggest challenge in PA is demographic shifts. Hazleton is brown, Allentown is brown.
Hazleton
Reading,
is brown?
Yep.
When I was out there, Hazleton was not brown.
Reading is brown, Allentown
Reading
is
was
brown.
going brown.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, Hazleton.
More legal answers. Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean
Wow.
Weissman.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Dean Weitzman. This is Court Radio, and I am your host every Saturday morning right here on 100.3 WRNB.
And Classics 107.9.
All right.
How you
folks,
holding up, Dean?
you don't have a microphone yet. Sorry. Go
How
ahead.
you holding up, Dean?
I'm all right. I'm going to be fine. I want to say that I've learned a lot, and it's a pleasure to have Chad Lassiter, the executive director of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, joining us today. Chad, thank you for everything that you've shared with our listeners.
Yeah.
Whoa, that was
Kind of
a quick,
truncated,
yeah.
man. Yeah, a little bit.
But we do have somebody on line 3. Let's take him on. Hello, Jack.
Good morning, Dean, Manny.
Oh,
Eric.
stop.
Oh,
No, that's
Jack.
Jack.
Listen to me.
From
Oh,
Florida?
yes.
From sunny Florida.
Let me-
Florida.
No, I'm actually driving down 95 to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Say hi to the National Guard for us.
But finally, Trump did something that's going to help the public.
What's that?
Yeah, what is that?
He signed an executive order to remove trigger leads. What trigger leads are is, when I run credit for a mortgage and you get 80 phone calls?
Yes.
No more.
Oh, really?
Privacy. He's good. Yes.
That reminds me that I get about 15 calls a day now.
Right.
Asking me if I want to get a consolidation loan.
Is that right? Why did that come about? Why?
Because I applied for a loan with somebody once,
Yes.
and now I can't stop it. I can't stop
You can't
it.
get off the list? You
No.
can't get the no call zone or nothing?
The list don't work. But when I run a mortgage application, what happens is the credit systems, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian sell them to like a lending tree, all those places.
Yeah.
Right? They buy them because they don't know anything other than they're looking for a mortgage, and they bombard these people with
It's
telephone
crazy.
calls.
Yeah,
It's
crazy. All right, Jack.
How about next week you come through, Jack?
You should come through, Jack.
Yeah, why don't you come back by next
We
week?
want to talk about the housing market
coming
these
on
days.
next week.
Oh,
Yeah?
Listen, I got deals I'm going to explain next week. I want to put everybody in a home.
You get a home.
get a home.
You get a home.
Everybody's getting a home. It's enough of this stuff, all right?
All right.
And
Thank you,
I
Jack.
love your commercial.
Thank
love
you.
your commercial.
See you,
There you
bro.
go, Jack.
I'll see you next week.
Good
I
to
love
hear
you
from you.
guys.
All right, Jack, take it easy. Jack.
Jackie Myers.
You didn't know he was going to call?
No.
nah.
No.
You didn't know he was going to be on next week?
No.
No, I knew he was going to be on.
You knew he
next
was gonna
week.
be on.
That's why I was
Yeah.
messing around.
He gets the advance notice. I don't.
All right.
They bring on a guest like Chad. They know months in advance. They tell me the morning of because they want it to be fresh.
Who would be the they?
She's behind me.
Behind you.
Yeah, she's in a capsule right now because I have a sniffle and she is like,
Yeah, she doesn't play that.
She is
Masked up
germaphobe Sarah.
She is.
Germaphobe Sarah. She is in there in her capsule.
Get thee behind me, Jerns.
We're not exaggerating, yo.
All right, we're done with that.
Chad.
We have Chad who's here, Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Did you ever, you kind of danced around it, but I want to try to nail you down here. How long, if somebody starts the process, before they can expect to hear something?
Yeah, not dancing around it. It varies.
Is it a month? Is it 6 months?
It's probably about 6 months to a year. There are some investigators, because they've done it for a considerable period of time, that can get to the potential of an NPC, non-probable cause or probable cause. Sometimes there's mediation, but I just didn't want to get locked in because each scenario varies.
How about this? If I come with a lot of good evidence, does that speed it up?
That's once again an investigator's call. One of the things is it's coming with your evidence, but it's also making sure that if you don't come with your evidence, that an investigator is saying to you, do you have any evidence?
Right.
It's also about PHRC not investigating by the seat of our pants. And what I mean by that is, in full disclosure, we actually are 2 days in the office, 3 days at home. I fundamentally believe that you can't do civil rights by the seat of your pants. You got to be in the community. You got to be able to metaphorically touch it. You got to be able to metaphorically analyze it. You got to be able to look at it. And so the main thing for us as a commission is accountability. The main thing for the listening audience and the general public is bring those criticisms, bring those critiques, because the PHRC in our 70th year under my leadership, we are being as we become. And so if someone would have called here today and said I had an indifferent experience or a bad experience with the PHRC, I wouldn't have ran from that, because we can only be better for the people of the Commonwealth. Though we're under the governor's office, we work for the people of the Commonwealth. And what do they want? Justice. And when do they want it? They want it now.
What is justice look like? If you have a claim that you find has probable cause, what's the next step? What do you do about it?
If I work for an employer, and that employer has engaged in systemic racism and discrimination, whether it's sexism, whether it's because I'm Muslim or whatever the protected category is, justice looks like filing your complaint with the PHRC. We have the evidence. We collect the evidence. We go through an IP, investigative plan. We render an outcome. And so there's multiple things that have happened, right? So it could be a remedy where, that employer, there's back pay. There's several other things that go into that. What I want people to recognize is that injustice looks like suffering in silence. So the woman that just called and lost her job, justice for me internal to PHRC is not necessarily just the outcome. It is the outcome, but it's us understanding when that woman or that man or that individual comes and says, I lost my house. The follow-up question, and maybe it's because I'm a social worker or a servant leader, the follow-up question should be, where are you staying? I'm staying in my car. How long have you been staying in your car? I've been staying in my car for 6 months. Who's staying in the car with you? My children. Are they able to go to school? Because you want to get to the challenges of truancy. Nah, they're on the honor roll. How are they on the honor roll? I get them to school. How are you enduring all this that you're going through? But by the grace of God. So being culturally competent, understanding who people are, but also recognizing that that person is not a widget counter. We contract with the EEOC. 2,000 cases are sent to the PHRC that we have to investigate. Those are 2,000 individuals. So it's our job to turn those cases around. It's our job, even though we're working from home, Manny, to respond to that message that was left on our voicemail, to make sure that we do those things to reach back out to the public, because the public, they come to us entrusting us with whatever they've gone through.
Wow.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
And from a completely different perspective than, let's say, from my own.
Sure.
I want to kill whoever harmed you. I want to bring justice, but for me, justice means making them pay. You're talking about a whole area of concern that I don't focus on, but I should.
But we want to make them pay, though, Dean. At the end of the day, I talk about all these great things that the PHRC is doing, but to the core of who we are an enforcement agency.
Right.
So if there are indifferent actors out there, because I don't like terms like bad, we're coming after you. If you're discriminating in the workplace, we're coming after you. If you're discriminating in schools, we're coming after you. If you're discriminating against
now
people who are disabled,
my language.
we're coming after you.
Yeah.
And so, I temper it with Martin Luther King says that we must accept finite disappointment but never lose infinite hope. But if you're discriminating in any space,
that's why he got to
we're
Penn
coming
and I
after
didn't.
That was pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's why he's a Penn grad. All right, folks, we're up against it. I hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll be back next week with Jack Myers, Mortgage Talk.
We'll get a home.
Yeah, home for everyone. We'll see you next Saturday, same time, same place.
Thank you, brother.
No, thank you. We're still on YouTube for how long, Dion?
Until we say we're done.
Did we say we're done?
Are you?
Here's a trigger.
Wait, are you able to?
On that right now.
He's working on it.
On
It's Digital Dion.
Digital Dion. in
Don't
the
let
building.
us down.
I have to.
How do we do that?
So YouTube doesn't allow me to play pre-roll commercials into it. We use another streaming service.
Put it
called
up to the camera then.
That's what I was trying to measure out. I don't know if it'll work by turning that camera. That's the only way that'll reach this over here.
Quincy said good morning. Quincy Harris.
You know what
Q.
to do?
Quincy
Will.
Harris.
We playing
Wow.
golf, man.
Wow. We got a QDZ sighting.
Q Deezy.
Man, it's always surprising to me who's listening in during our show.
All right, I could just put the phone up to it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just put the phone up.
All right, we'll just intro it and then I'll do it.
All right, intro it.
Yeah, like
horrible,
just.
though.
Me
What's
explain
going
it?
on?
I'm horrible.
All right. So here it is.
267.
We did a series of 3 commercials. My guys in Boston. I went up there.
745-0033.
I'm starting a whole new campaign in the fall because I'm tired of those lawyers who kind of glommed on to my name. They, when I started My Philly Lawyer probably 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when I started My Philly Lawyer, there was no Philly, okay? I mean, yeah, there was the Phillies, but nobody was using Philly as a brand, okay? When I started, there was My Philly Roofer, My Philly Plumber, and then lawyers started twisting it a little. The Philly Lawyer, Philly Lawyers, Philly Law. They are glomming on so that they can trick you into thinking that they are me, and they're not. And that's why I did this commercial. Dion's getting there. You'll see it in a minute. There you go.
I like the brick wall, Dean.
Yeah. So that's one of 3 commercials that are going to be running on TV starting next Monday, the 15th. I also want to tell you that I have, as sick as I am, I have made every single shot into the basket today. And with that, I bid you farewell, a great week, and I will see you next Saturday with Jack Myers. Peace.
Can we social distance and get a picture?
Yes.